Hello, I am Bruce Harrington. I am your student's LA and SS teacher this year at Islander Middle School. And I'd like to take a moment and introduce myself and tell you a bit about me, the guy who's teaching your child this year. So I'm a Massachusetts boy. We can say lots of things about folks from Massachusetts. I've heard them all. Grew up in a little town, and my family had lived there for generations. And I was at a young age where I was bit by the history bug. All those little roadside markers, I would always stop and read them. My parents loved history. My grandparents loved history. And all around me was this love of knowledge of what happened in the past. And I hope this year to instill in your child a love of history. I am a product of public education. I went to the same school my parents and my grandparents went to. I am a firm believer in a public education, makes a strong public. And when we get to 8th grade and we talk about civics, understanding the people in our communities, understanding our government, understanding what happened before is key to a strong public. I went off to Franklin Pierce College, now it's a university, in Rindge, New Hampshire, a population of 3,000, that's the town. It was a great place for me to grow into the person I am today. We were, as a small community, located at the base of the mountain. This is Mount Monadnock in this picture here. This is all that was of the college. You learn to be true to yourself, grow, trust others, and I went from being a shy, awkward freshman to senior class president. I received my Bachelor's of Education in anthropology, and then following my graduation, I went off to Andover Newton Theological School, where I received my Master's of Divinity. I learned a lot about my love of history, played an important part in my Master of Divinity degree, in that my understanding of biblical texts and the history surrounding them supported my love of ancient civilization. I moved to Seattle for a few years, and I returned home when there was an incident in my family. And while I was there, I received my Master of Education at Worcester State College. I am nationally board certified in language arts. And that brings us to the curriculum that we will be delving into this year. So in language arts, our curriculum is Common Core aligned. Springboard is the basis of which we get all of our materials, although unfortunately in this pandemic and virtual learning, the Springboard platform does not work on our iPad despite our best intentions, but we have extracted from it the best material we can use and have incorporated amongst the 6th grade teachers to teach language arts this year. It has a lot of higher order critical thinking. It is based soundly in the Common Core for both reading and writing. It talks about problem solving, conceptual skills, and extends academic vocabulary. I personally have seen an increase in SBAC scores over the years that I have used it. Some of our ELA learning targets will be communication skills. We'll be using reading. In reading, we'll be doing The Giver, The Red Scarf Girl, and March by John Lewis. In writing, we'll be doing narrative, argumentative, literary analysis, informational, creative, and some on-demand writing. We'll be doing both some listening and some speaking. And all of this will be both in writing and non-writing formats, because it's important for us to understand how to read non-written materials. Our practice in language arts will be as follows. Independent reading, I expect about 10 pages per day minimum, or 30 minutes. And during a trimester, I expect students to read 5 different genres. Your child will be able to show you on Schoology where I have the literature forms where they can keep track of which genres they have read, and they will not only be reading different genres, but they'll be writing a review about the books that they read. We'll have daily work assigned. Some will be short answer, some will be discussion questions, some will be shorter writing assignments such as letters to the editor, friendly letters, summaries of what we have read, etc. We'll be using no red ink this year to teach grammar, which is an exciting new development. We've used it in the past, but have never had the premium option, which will also do some on-demand writing. It's gamified. So every time they reach a goal, it extends the bar. So they'll always be working slightly beneath what their abilities are, and then the bar will move and challenge them to go deeper and farther. There will be extended writing where they will be writing drafts. They will edit the drafts. They will rewrite the drafts, do some proofreading until they finally come up with a final draft. In social studies, we'll be using National Geographic World History and Great Civilizations. It's Common Core aligned, and I say that gingerly because social studies does not have specific Common Core alignment except in the reading and the writing. So the reading writing portions of social studies are aligned to the Common Core standards, but social studies itself, we follow the state guidelines. Each chapter is introduced by a National Geographic Explorer. There's differentiated material, multimedia material, and there is a version that is on the iPads. And here I've made a note. Sometimes it's a little clunky. When you advance to the next page, it will tell you that you need to readjust your iPad. If that happens, just hit the back button and try it again. What we'll be studying in social studies will begin right at the beginning with the evolution of humans, how species change, how we went from the development of simple stone tools to more advanced tools, to the Bronze Age, into the development of writing, which will lead us into the aspects of a civilization because writing is one of the foundations of culture. And we'll talk about how cultures develop. The major cultures that we'll be studying this year is Mesopotamia, Egypt, Rome, China, and Greece. And then depending on class interest, there are about 5 other civilizations that we will venture into until we cover all the continents. Our learning targets in social studies will be to focus on primary and secondary sources, to determine a central idea, the author's point of view, to find a fact, opinion, or reasoned judgment about anything that we study. And then we'll be doing some research. And in our research, we'll be talking about the credibility of sources. Is it more reliable if it's printed, if it's more reliable if it's online? And if it's online, how do you know if that's a reliable source? We'll also be working on citing sources, taking notes, and paraphrasing. So social studies practice is a little different. We will be having assignments on vocabulary for chapters, discussion questions, which are often online posts, discussion posts. We'll be doing map work for each civilization and understanding how maps work and what maps represent, and how maps don't only show geographic formations, that sometimes they can also take into account rainfall or population or migration paths. We'll practice learning to compare and contrast one civilization to another, one technique to another, one technology to another. We'll also be doing some DBQs, which is a document-based question. There'll be an original primary source, which your child will read a section of, and then there'll be some questions to pull apart that original primary source and to answer the questions using an original source. We will explore our own inquiries about the world around us, and my hope is that your child becomes a lifelong lover of history. Something I wanted to share that on Schoology, on the iPad, as compared to other years, so if you've had other children that have gone through the middle school, you'd be used to the Schoology button that appears here on the left, the white background with the blue S. That is the Schoology app button, which will open the app of Schoology, which is different than the online version. So if you were to open the app, you would not see Zoom link buttons, which will appear on the red button, which is the online version. So my recommendation is to use the red button for getting into class and the white button for submitting homework. Submitting homework through the app is much easier than the online version, unless you would be on a laptop. On Schoology, every week I will be posting, going back for a moment, here are the buttons right here that I was referring to. So my morning class is the blue alligator, and my afternoon class is the red alligator, the 1 and the 4. The one in the middle is the button that connects you to my office hours, which I'll be talking about in a minute. So I have a language arts page and I have a social studies page. Every week in both of my courses, I will be posting what we're calling a WAG, a week at a glance. And it will look like this. Again, the buttons to connect to Zoom are at the top. My office hours are posted there. And this WAG will illustrate everything that is needed for that week. So it'll have the materials needed, any anticipated due dates, and our learning targets. And this is the page 1 of a 2-page WAG, but it will show you Zoom session 1, which is what we'll be doing on a Monday, the learning steps, and if you need to share your learning in the 3rd column. The second line, the white column there, the white strip, will be work that is done outside of class. So I was asking them to read independent books and then to add recommendations to a list that we're building in class. And then you see that it says Zoom session 2, where we talked about identity. We did a read aloud. We talked about windows and mirrors and literature. So every week there will be a WAG, which will illustrate everything that is being done that week, and links for homework or links for submission or links for any material that they may need will be embedded in this document. I will say that I won't be doing the end of the week links until halfway through the week. I'm just noticing that some students are doing Friday's work before they've finished Monday's work. So here's our schedule, depending which time of day I have your child. I see everybody on Mondays, and I see my blue group, my 1st and 2nd periods, on Tuesday and Thursdays, and my red group on Wednesdays and Fridays. Every day I have 2 sets of office hours, 12:45 to 1:15, and again at 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Those are the best times to just hit that office hour link button to meet up with me. We can talk about any issues that are going on in class. I have students who will send me 2, 3, 4, 6 emails where it could have been taken care of with 2 minutes in office hours. So that's a great way for me to not only connect to them, see them face to face, and have a momentary banter between us, but also to answer any questions and to probe further to see if there are other things that they might need help in. Grading in both my language arts and social studies class is standard-based grading, and this is the IMS format that we use. It should be very similar to what was in the elementary school, except there's a few things that we have changed because we're the middle school. I think most important may be the NE at the bottom, that there's not enough evidence. Rather than getting a 0, which we as teachers call the terminal 0, you throw a 0 in any average and it just draws everything down. The NE does not calculate in the average, but it says there's no evidence. And I cannot assign a grade for that particular category. 3 is the at standard, and that's our goal. If you think of this in terms of SBAC, 3 is what we want. 3 is meeting the 6th grade benchmark for both language arts and social studies in all the various categories that we may have. 2.5 is not bad. 2.5 at this time of year means you're approaching what your 6th grade standard would be. And I would be expecting, if I did a writing assignment, that many students would have a 2.5. We're working towards the 3. If you were getting 3s right now, where would you be at the end of the year? Because you would already have mastered 6th grade material. So there's a growing trend that can occur across the 6th grade year working towards obtaining that 3. 4 means that you've gone above and beyond. So you've done what was needed in 6th grade standards and then moved beyond. Sometimes it is literally something that means you do some more research. Maybe it means you add something that I had not asked, like on a map. I may ask you to list the major cities, the major rivers, the major bodies of water, and the mountain chain. And you go ahead and you show me natural resources or migration paths or trade routes or population or civilization boundaries. It's going above and beyond research that you've done on your own, and that would move it from a 3 towards a 4. Now, unfortunately, in virtual world, we are not the team that we would be if we were present at IMS. Your child is part of the Mailbox Peak team, which means that your child's math, science, language and arts, social studies teacher are all the same. There are 2 of us who teach language arts and social studies, but everybody on our team has the same math and science teacher. What that means is that once a week, the 4 of us get together and we talk about issues that we're facing with students, challenges they may have, strengths they may have, surprisingly turnarounds in progress, something they weren't getting maybe last trimester that they're excelling at this trimester. And we talk about what works best within our classes for each child. What also happens is, should there ever be a time where we need to meet, all 4 of us can meet together and discuss the needs of your child. It is my hope that sometime this year, I'm not exactly sure, that we will be together and we will be able to recreate this picture with this year's class. Finally, the best way to contact me is via email. The best way to check homework is on Schoology and the WAG, and progress is tracked in Skyward. I will say that this has been a challenging year. I do not play a teacher on television, and filming everything is very awkward for me. I'm actually an introvert. But I will say that this has been an incredible first 3 weeks of school. I thoroughly enjoy this class. Your kids are doing a great job. When I talk with some of my colleagues, they're mentioning students who aren't showing up. Right now, I have 100% attendance in my class. I've seen every student. We've cracked jokes. You may hear my voice in the background in the mornings. I'm enjoying your students tremendously, and I look forward to when we can be safely back at school. If there's anything I ever can do for you, please let me know. If there's something that occurs at home or in your family that might cause your child to act differently in school, if you could please let me know. Sometimes we don't find out till after the fact that something major happened that impacted the child's performance in school. We want to do everything we can to support your child through the 6th grade year, and even more so that we are online right now. In addition to that, I just want to say that I will be practicing mindfulness in my class, which means that starting next week or the week after, once we get the basics down, we will be spending about 3 minutes in the morning just sort of being, thinking about what's going on, focusing ourselves for the work that we need to do this week, and learning to practice mindfulness, which is letting go of those voices in our head. A perfect example would be a math assignment or a math test is assigned for 2 weeks from Friday. And right now students start to have anxiety about it. We're not even there yet. There's a lot that has to happen in 2 weeks. So can we stop the chatter in our head about the fact that we may or may not do well and focus on the moment so we can do better? So we'll be practicing mindfulness. If there's anything I can do to help your child succeed, please let me know. I usually enjoy curriculum night besides having like pterodactyls in my stomach, and I wish we could be together face to face. discussing your child's 6th grade year. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Be safe and be well.